recorded, and I will be sharing it with your license administrator, Rolanda Julius. So you will be able to review it after the call as well. Um, just to give you an idea of the structure of the session today, this is a fairly comprehensive overview of the research professional online service. So I will start with the very sort of basic parts of it, which are uh, how you can set up an account, how you access research professional, um, and then after that, we will be spending a lot of time looking at the funding opportunities database. So I'll be showing you how you can conduct both simple and advanced searches so that you can find funding opportunities in your particular area of interest. I'll show you as well how you can interact with your searches and your content so that you can achieve things such as setting up your own funding calendars as well as automated funding alerts as well. So we will be spending the majority of our time looking at the funding database, but we also will have a bit of a look into some of the other features as well. So we will have a bit of a look at the news service as well as some of the other features. And then what we will do is we'll close the session with a brief look into the institutional homepage, where you can find publicly curated and shared resources that have been put together by your license administrators. And then we can have some questions and answers at the end as well. Um, so yeah, and yeah, just to introduce myself formally, my name is Nick Epifaniou. I work with the client services team at Research Professional, and as such, I'll be your guide today through our service. So just to sort of start with the base, um, in order to access Research Professional, what you're going to have to do is you are going to have to request an account from your institutional administrator. So I believe this will be Rolanda Julius. So if you need any assistance setting up an account, she might be able to help you. Otherwise, another thing you can do as well is you can request an account by going to our support portal. So I'm just going to put this link in the chat. So you can also request an account here as well. Um, if you have a username and password combination that you are aware of, you can log in simply by typing in your username and password here. I do not technically have credentials for H3Africa, but I did set up a sort of demo account for the purpose of today. So I'm just going to do that. So as you can see, with my user word combination, I'm able to log in to the homepage for the H3Africa license, as you can see here. And by logging in and going to the homepage, you'll see that this will take you to a page where you can sort of get a bit of a brief look into some parts of the service. So you have the shortcut to the funding database at the top here. You have a preview of the news service here, and then a preview of the institutional homepage here as well. We will touch upon all of this, but as I mentioned earlier, we'll start with the funding opportunities database. Um, so what I normally tend to do with the funding opportunities database is when I will go through both the simple and the advanced search. Normally, when I conduct the simple search, I use my own example for a research topic. But if you have any ideas for something that you would like to see in the advanced search, please feel free to mention it in the chat. And then when I get to the advanced search, I can pick one of your answers, and then we can build an advanced search to your suggestions as an example. So if we're starting with the simple search, we can start right away from here. So this option is by default the simple search option. Otherwise, you click on search here. So as an example, one of the searches you can conduct here is economics. So by type, I can see that this search will prompt a list of automated suggestions. And we can see here that the automated suggestions fall broadly under three distinct criteria. So at the top here we have free text, then we have funder, and finally we have discipline. So I will just quickly run a search with each of these different types, just so you understand the logic that's taking place in the search. So if I run a text search for economics, we can see here that this will yield 606 items. And what has happened here is, if I click on the funding opportunity, by running a free text search for economics, what this means is that the search will scan the call description for mentions of the word economics or a related term. So in this particular case, we can see that here it says sustainable economic or so. So naturally, using the logic I just described, a free text search for economics will yield this item. So that's quite straightforward. The second criteria is also fairly straightforward. This is the funder criteria. So this will simply just provide you with a list of funders that have the word economics in their title. So actually means is by running a search for Agricultural Economic Society of Great Britain, I am funding opportunities offered or administered by that specific organization. So that's also quite straightforward. This one requires a little bit more explanation because it's not quite as obvious as these other ones, but I will show you that now. So once again, we type in economics, and now we see we've done free text, we've done funder, now we can do discipline. So if I conduct a search for, let's say, health economics, run the search, we'll see that this yields 17 items. And what has happened here, if we click on one of these funding opportunities and we scroll to the bottom, you will find in every funding opportunity there will be a section titled indexed with these disciplines. What does this mean exactly? What this means is when our funding team at Research Professional add funding opportunities to the database, what they will do is that they will make sure that the funding opportunity is tagged with the correct indexing terms as they appear in our own internally developed taxonomy of research disciplines. We will, when we go in the advanced search, we will have an opportunity to look at the taxonomy in greater detail. But for this, in this particular case, this funding opportunity is tagged with the indexing term health economics. So naturally, a discipline search for health economics would yield this item, as we saw earlier. That is the simple search in a nutshell, essentially. Before we move to the advanced search, I think it might be beneficial just to spend looking at the funding opportunity, just to give you an idea of how these are structured. If we scroll to the top, we have the sort of most obvious information here. So obviously the title and the funder. You can, of course, click on the funder to find out more about them. And the call description, which consists of the most crucial key information extracted from the original call. So this will include what the project, what the funding is for, who it's for, and how much is provided as well. If you scroll additional information, such as the closing date, as well as some more specific deadline information. So the closing date is the 11th of November, but that's just for letters of inquiry. The actual proposals are due in March of the following year, and this call is repeated 3 times a year. We can also see the award types that this is tagged with. So in addition to tagging the funding opportunities with um, research disciplines, we also tag them with award types, which are meant to denote the types of projects that are being funded. So you might be a researcher who's looking for a grant to conduct a project, or you might be looking for wage support as a person conducting a fellowship somewhere else, or you might just be simply looking for funding so that you can conduct travel for research purposes. So you have all these different award types, and we also tag our funding opportunities with these. And we will also have a chance to look at the award types in greater detail in the advanced search. We also have the award. We also have the eligibility profile. So the country of applicant institution is any, which means any country can apply for it. By default, the way that your institution's license is set up is that um, if you are in the H3 Africa license, all of your searches will be pre-filtered so that um, every opportunity that you see is open to your country. You can change this setting, of course, if you want in the search, if you'd like to see if perhaps you are planning on moving to another country and you'd like to see a more comprehensive look of the funding landscape. But yeah, as a default, um, all your searches will be pre-filtered so that they are eligible, so that they are open to the country that you are based in. The nationality of research 20. The type of institution is not known, which means it's not specified. Um, Normally, this can be taken to mean that it is open to any type of institution, but it always helps to check with the funder before you launch an application, just to be safe. Again, we have the disciplines that this is indexed with. And then we have the comment section, which is visible to all users of Research Professional. So you can use it to discuss the funding opportunity or ask for help or maybe even look for a collaborative partner. If we scroll back, you can see some additional information on the side here. So we have the funders webpage for the opportunity. So you'll be able to see the call here. We also have some contact information for the funder. So if you have any technical queries about the funding opportunity, you can contact them using this information. And you can also, in some cases, we include links to the application form. So you can go straight to the application form from here and launch your application. So that's the simple search in a nutshell as well as the anatomy of the funding opportunities. We can now move on to the advanced opportunities search. Um, I just want to check one more. Are there any suggestions for research disciplines that anyone would like to see us use in the advanced? If there are, please feel free to mention them in the chat, and I'll pick one of them, and we can basically build a search together. I'll give it a few seconds. Um, but yeah, if you can mention via the chat. So for the might have just joined, um, I've just sent a message via the chat, so that should help you find it. It's on the sort of control dashboard for the WebEx platform, so you should be able to see it. Um, yeah, from the sound of it, okay, so we can see here. Okay, so I can see we have some suggestions that are slightly, but not from entirely different ballparks. So I think we can put together a search using these. So yeah, before I jump into that though, to go to the advanced search is quite easy. If you are already within the funding section, you can advanced opportunity search whenever you want by just clicking on this button here. If you are trying to access it from another part of the website, so for instance, if you're an RN, simply you go to funding, and then you can see advanced search and advanced opportunity search. So if we want to conduct an advanced opportunity search, we simply click on that, and that will take us to the advanced search facility. And you can see here this offers some more options for you to refine your search. So you can build a more refined search and have a bit more control over the results that you are receiving, so that you can truly craft a search that is best suited not just to your research interest but also to your researcher profile. Um, what we'll do is we'll put together an example based on some of these. Here we have alt text, which works in a similar in an identical fashion to the free text option in the simple. Normally, I advise when doing an advanced search, you start with discipline. So I can see here that there are a few suggestions. So I see bioinformatics, epigenetics and biochemistry, genetics. I see bioinformatics is quite a popular one. Because these are in quite a similar ballpark, I can probably integrate all of these into the search, so that's quite helpful. I'm just seeing some of the other suggestions here. Or okay, there's also an additional question here, but I'll get to that one what at the end of the search, because I think that might be suited to the award type. Um, so here we go to discipline, and we can search for some of our terms here. So bioinformatics, for instance, we can search here, and we can look for our research disciplines is by going to browse, and this will take you to the taxonomy tree, which you can see stems from these four parent terms and is collapsible into more specific areas. Generally, what I recommend is you try and find the most specific terms that you can. So, for instance, if we're going with genetics and epigenetics, let's see. Maybe we even select. We can also do biochemistry and molecular biology. Here's also actually a very fun tip. If you want to select everything in genetics and systems biology, but without having to tick every single box here, and same with biochemistry and molecular biology, what you can do is instead of match these disciplines exactly, go to advanced, select exact and narrower, and now tick this box and this box. So by ticking exact and narrower, that means I will be able to find everything that falls below this term as well. So if I run a search for these, we can see this yields 419 items. We can refine these searches a little bit further using an award type. So for instance, we have directed grants for individual investigators. We also have grants that are undirected. So I believe there was a question here regarding freestanding project funding. I think that this one, grants undirected, should fulfill that purpose. Um, although I can look into that a bit more if the case. But if you're not sure what some of these award types might be, you can always hover above them with your mouse, and you'll get a bit more of a bit more information about what the award types are for. But for the purpose of this example, let's perhaps select some of these grants. Maybe a fellowship or two. So we can do early career fellowships, mid-career fellowships, pre-doctoral fellowships, and then perhaps also travel as well. If we're happy with the ones that we've selected, we can press update, run the search, and now we can see we've trimmed down our items to 268. And you can continue to do this. You can continue to refine your search until you find what you're looking for using some of these other options. So for instance, you can run a search for funder, and you can do so. You can either search for the funder or find them alphabetically. You can also attach a closing date criteria. So for instance, we can see here that some of these funding opportunities have a closing date on the 25th of September for their applications, which as we can see here is not loads of time away. And therefore, maybe it's not quite enough time to submit a quality proposal. So what you can do is you can give yourself a little bit of a buffer by clicking on closing date and tell the search to show you only funding opportunities that have a closing date in more than 2 weeks' time. See, we've trimmed our results even further. We can also attach award amounts if we want. So if you have a particular amount of funding in mind, you can put a range here. also have some more specific options here. So you can search according to the country of funder, for instance. So you find the country in this alphabetical list, and then some of these other searches some of these other options as well. And then, of course, you can also include opportunities that are open to applications from beyond your country. So this will allow you to see opportunities that are not necessarily open to your country. But if you are planning on moving somewhere else, then this will give you a more comprehensive view of the funding landscape. So that, in a nutshell, is just, is one of the ways that you can put together a search. Obviously, some people might be looking for more specific things than others, and as a result, that you'll have to play around with the search criteria a little bit before you arrive at what you're looking for. And if you do take a lot of time to do this, one way that you can sort of save yourself a little bit of time having to log in and out, create the exact same search, is you can save time by saving your search criteria. And the way this works is you click on the orange save button, and then you do, or rather, and then you click save. I'm just going to open another tab. Whenever you want, you can research professional, go to your account, so that'll be your name in the top right, save searches and bookmarks, and you can see your search here. Search is dynamic, and what I mean by that is because the search is dependent on what is mentioned in the search terms, this list of results will update automatically if there are any new items that are added to the funding database that match your criteria. So this is a sort of living and breathing list. You can look at it anytime you want, see if there's anything new that maybe you didn't see yesterday. You can also even take this one step further and create a automated funding alert, which will save you even more time. Because this way you can just get the new funding opportunities sent straight to your email inbox, so that you have time to focus on other projects, as well as look for funding. And the way that you do this is, again, clicking on the orange save button. And this time, instead of simply just clicking save, you click save and alert. And what this will do is this will a weekly funding alert, which you can see again by going to your account, funding, save searches and bookmarks, and we can see the funding alert here. And you can tell that this one is alerting because it has a tick box next to it. So you can change the settings here. These are weekly alerts. So the way that these work is that is basically over the course of the week, if there are any new funding opportunities that are added to the database and they match the criteria that you've set, they will be collected over the course of the week into an email. And then at the end of the week, when the database has updated for the final time, on Friday afternoon, you will be sent a list or funding opportunities from that week. So that can help you sort of automate the service a little bit more and balance, your workflow. So you don't have to you can spend a bit more time. So I can see here there were some people who missed the beginning regarding creating an account. So to answer your question, you can either request an account from your license administrator, Rolanda Julius, or you can submit a case via our support portal, and will allow you to request an account as well. You just need to clarify your name, your institutional email address, and also the institution that you are affiliated with. So and then what will happen is an account can be created for you, and you will receive an automated email with instructions to claim your new account. I can also provide a bit more assistance towards the end if needed as well. But yeah, so these are some of the. Let's see. So there are a few more questions regarding the account creation. So account membership is at the institutional level, so it's paid for by the organization. So as such, if you are a user, you do not incur any personal costs yourself. Um, so yeah, hopefully, it won't necessarily be for a lifetime unless because it's an institutional license. It depends on two things. It depends on if the institution continues to have a license and if you continue to work with the institution. So it is sort of on this institutional basis that the access is provided. So hopefully that shines a bit more of a light on that. Um, so yeah, I was mentioning these safe searches. Obviously, the safe search that has a ticked box next to it, that means that this search operates as a funding alert. You do also have more advanced email alert settings in the top right corner here. So if you click on the email alert dashboard, this will allow you to control your email alerts, not just for funding, but for every part of the website, whether it's news or publications or basically any email that you'd receive from Research Professional. As such, you can turn off all your alerts if you want, or just all your funding alerts, or maybe you can, if you want, you can turn one funding alert off and another one on. Um, you can also set up email profiles. So what I mean by this is by default, if I have these two searches operating as funding alerts, what this means is that by default, I will receive all my new funding opportunities, safe searches in one email. And the reason for that we did this is because we thought that that users wouldn't want to receive many different emails from the service. So by default, all your searches will come in one email. You can change this, however, if you would like to separate your searches into different emails. What you can do is simply create a new profile, second email, and then have search one ticked here in the first profile and search two clicked here in the second profile. So now my funding opportunities from the two different searches will come to me in two different emails. Uh, those are some of the ways that you can interact with your searches. You can, of course, as well interact with the results. So as an example, if I find some funding opportunities that I like, I can save them for future review by simply ticking the ones that I like. Orange bookmark button. And this essentially works as bookmarks or favorites on your web browser where you can save pages that you like. So I can just save my funding opportunities like this. And then whenever I want, I can, again, go to my account, funding, which is in bookmarks, and I can my bookmarks, I can add new ones to this folder if I want. I can delete ones that maybe I'm not so interested in. I can do that like this by clicking on the actions drop down menu. You can also, in addition to bookmarking, you can also download your funding opportunities in a text format, which is something like this. So if you just bear with me one moment, just waiting for the Word file to download. So here you can see the funding opportunities have been downloaded into text format, and the text format will consist of a link to the original web page, a description of the call, a closing date, and then the link to the research professional call as well. So you can use this as a way of maybe copying and pasting. If you, for instance, if you run a newsletter for some of your other colleagues at the institution, you can copy and paste some of these and into an email newsletter. And because this has both a link to the original web page and the research professional page, it means it's visible to, if, for instance, if one of your colleagues maybe hasn't set up a research professional account yet, he or she or they will be able to view it by clicking this one rather than this link. You also offer some advanced download settings. So you can actually choose the download format as well as what information appears. So you can choose, as we saw earlier, you can have the funder, the summary text, a link to the website, a link to the research professional, but disciplines as well. For those of you who joined, not to worry, This session is being recorded and it will be shared with your license administrators, so you will be able to review it. If there are parts you missed, you will be able to review it at a later date. So not to worry. Um, but yeah, so yeah, here you can choose what information actually appears in the downloaded text as well. And then if you want to start from scratch, you can always clear as well. You can share your funding opportunities with some of your colleagues who also have research professional accounts by simply clicking actions and going to email. It will allow you to share your funding opportunities with anyone as long as they have a research professional account. So it doesn't matter if they're not at the same institution as you. If, for instance, you have a collaborative partner who works in another country, if you know that they have a research professional account, you can share using this feature. Uh, and finally, you can also view your funding opportunities in format. So if you select some funding opportunities, go to Actions and select Cal. Keep in mind you might need to have pop-ups enabled in order to see this, but here you can see your funding opportunities in this very neat calendar format, which can be quite helpful in terms of helping you plan and having a bit of visibility over upcoming deadlines. You can, of course, click on the funding opportunities to see more information. Forward, so here we can see some of the other ones that we selected. You can, of course, integrate your calendar with your existing calendar software. Way that you do this is you can download it. However, what I personally recommend is you click subscribe because the download file is static, whereas the subscribe file is dynamic, which means if there are any changes to the deadlines, they will be reflected in your calendar. So I would advise clicking subscribe. I can see somebody asked, can I get a postdoctoral fellowship opportunity from the search? Yeah, so just to recap on that, if you go to the advanced search and you put a word type, you look for, so postdoctoral, I would advise you either use postdoctoral training fellowship or early career fellowship if you're looking for specifically. But I believe we have both of those. Oh no, so we have pre-doctoral, but yeah, we can add, for instance, we can edit our old options by clicking on this pen and paper icon here, and I can just simply add postdoctoral training fellowship as well. But yeah, those are I think that covers everything I wanted to talk about regarding the funding database. We still have a decent amount of time, so that means we can go through some of the news and conferences features as well. Um, so the way that this works is if you simply click on news, this will take you to our news service. So quite a bit of background into the news service. Before Research Professional was this online service, we originally started in the 1980s as a journalistic publication, specializing primarily in the research policy landscape. So the news service here is kind of is part of our sort of legacy as a journalistic outlet. Of course, obviously, in recent years, we've moved on to this online service that combines the news service with the funding database. And all of the news articles here are written by our own in-house journalists and freelancers. And as you can see here, like many online news services, you can search for news articles along geographical lines. So for instance, if we go to Africa, this will give us quite a broad pan-African look into the sort of the research policy landscape. Although, of course, if you scroll down, you can find it. You can find sort of um, more segmented and targeted news articles. So, for instance, Pan African, East, South, West, North, as well as some that are not necessarily geographical. You can also search. Yeah, you can also search for partnerships and careers. And if you'd like to keep up to date with any developments in the policy in the research policy landscape in Africa, you can just simply click email me updates. And whenever there are any new articles there, you will be told. Let me just see. I can see that there are a few more questions. I can see. So currently for H3 Africa, there isn't a way to register individual. You would either have to request an account from your administrator or via the support link that I provided. Um, but of course, this is something I can obviously we can obviously discuss with the administrators regarding future access as well. Hopefully that information is helpful. You can also conduct an advanced article search for the news by clicking on advanced articles and just by searching using some of these options. So here you can search according to alt text or publication or even the section that you're looking for as well. Before I forget, I just want to show you what the news articles actually look like. So much like a lot of other online news services, you can view the articles by clicking on. So here we have a coronavirus a bit of news. So you can just simply click on the article and it will allow you to read the rest of the article here. And you can also interact with the articles in a similar fashion to how you might interact with the funding opportunities. So you can bookmark, email, and download the news articles as well. Moving on, we have a new conferences feature as well. And the purpose of this is it allows you to search for conferences, symposia, and other similar events that are inviting papers either for presentation or to be published in the journal for the organizers of the conference. And in many cases, if you are invited to attend, participate, or present in the conference, sometimes they will offset travel and accommodation costs. So you might find that this could also be a helpful way to look for funding for that purpose. You can either search here using the simple search or conducting an advanced search here. You can browse according to your subject, and it will provide you with a list of all the events as well as their deadlines for manuscripts and abstracts for publication. And then you can even click on the event here to view some of the event details. So that's the conferences feature. That's quite straightforward. Um, the final feature I'd like to show you is the institutional homepage on our institution. So as I mentioned at the start, actually, before I forget, there's a very important thing I forgot to mention in the funding opportunities. There is an additional way that you can interact with the funding opportunities that isn't visible here. But if you funding opportunity, you can also express interest in a funding opportunity. What this will mean is if anyone else using the H3 Africa license comes across this funding opportunity, they'll be able to see that you are interested in research in this funding opportunity, and they can even contact you by clicking the little post icon here, which means that they'll be able to send you an email, and perhaps you could even work on a collaborative effort or a collaborative application for this particular funding scheme. Reason I've just remembered that is because of this tab here, which allows you to see expressions of interest at your institution. But yeah, the institutional homepage essentially allows you to see who your administrators are. So, for instance, you can see Rolanda here. So these would be the people that you would want to get in touch with if you wanted to set up a research professional account on the H3 Africa license. You can see some additional information here. So, for instance, there's a introduction to the service, as well as some helpful materials to get you started. You can also find as well some funding resources. So another use that the our institution section serves is that in the same way that you and I were able to create advanced searches and advanced searches earlier, Your administrators are also able to do this. However, your administrators have extra abilities which allow them to publicly share the searches that they've put together. Um, and these can also be done at the main work group level or at the sub work group level. So you can see here as well, there's the main work group for H3 Africa, but there's also a hierarchy with that more specialized um, work groups beneath it. So for instance, if we click on H3 Africa Bioinformatics Network, we can also see here, aren't really any resources here, but so what we'll do is we'll stick with the main work group. But if you want to have a look at some of these funding resources, I advise once you've set up your account, having a look here to see what resources have been set up by your administrators. As an example, if you go to some of the funding resources here, I can see some South African Medical Research Council funding opportunities that the administrators have put together. I could even use this as my own jumping off point for a search, so I can use this to sort of look for funding as well. If I like the search that my administrator has created, but I maybe want to copy it so that I can copy a template of it, so I can maybe add my own search terms to it. You can do this by clicking on the yellow padlock here, and this will allow you to attach some additional options to it if you would like as well. So I would invite you once you access Research Professional, have a look to see if there are any useful resources on the institutional homepage that might be of good use. Um, I think that covers everything I wanted to discuss today. So I will open up the floor for some Q&A because we still have until the end of the hour. Um, if I could just, while I'm waiting for any questions, if I could just share with you this survey link. So if you go to the chat, you will now see that there's a survey/feedback form. So you can provide any feedback regarding the session. Your feedback is obviously valuable to us. It helps us identify our areas of strength in these training sessions, but it also helps us as well to identify areas for potential improvement. So if you could follow that link in the chat and fill that out, that would be very much appreciated. But I will also stand by for any questions. While I'm waiting for questions, I will also show you the help section. So if there are any you can also click on help and come to our help section where we also have a lot of very helpful materials. So we have an FAQ, for instance, which allows you to see some of the frequently asked questions for Research Professional. So if you have a specific question in mind, you can maybe have a look to see if somebody has asked this question already. We also have a training section which contains videos. So if you go to the end user functionality training here, you'll be able to see some nice brief 2 to 3 minute videos on YouTube for the different parts of the service that I spoke about today. Of course, there will also be a recording of this session which I will share with your administrators. And then there's also product documentation. So this is more like Wikipedia style articles on all the different features that we've covered today as well. So you can also find them here. But yeah, I think that covers everything I want to discuss. So I will open out to any questions. So please feel free to send them through. So we have a question here. Is Research Professional open source or is it paid for service? So just to clarify, Research Professional is a service that is paid for on a institutional basis. So H3 Africa pays for the license. And what this means is anyone who is affiliated with H3 Africa is able to set up an end user account without any costs being incurred on the individual. So yeah, the licenses are given on a institutional basis. I understand that H3 Africa is collaborative research center, and as such, there might be users who are based at other institutions. So I would advise having a look, checking to see if your institution may also have its own institutional license. Just to answer the question, how much is an institutional license? As a member of client services, I do not have this information to hand, and it also varies. What I understand is the cost of an institutional license varies um, from according to the size of the institution. If um, if this is something you'd like to find out more about, you can email me just a moment, um, and I can, if needed, put you in touch with one of our account managers. So if you are perhaps affiliated with an institution and you'd like to find out more about an institutional license, I can perhaps put you in touch with the right person. Um, but yeah, once again, I will be on until the end of the hour for any questions. Um, so please feel free to send those through. And if any of you have somewhere to be, and you might need to leave, not to worry. There will be a recording of this session. And once again, if you are in a rush and you need to leave, thank you for joining me this afternoon. I hope the session was helpful. But yeah, once be on until the end of the hour. Let me just double check. Not a problem, everyone. Thank you. Thanks again for joining. We can see another question here. Sure. So if we go to research projects, so yeah, we can see here that oh, okay, so there are actually some more specialized work groups under research projects, but it doesn't appear that there are many resources under this. But what I would maybe advise you to do is if you work with any of these within any of these groups, you can request that your administrators give you editor rights. And what that means is, as an editor, you will be able to create. You won't be able to have the same rights as an administrator, but you can set up funding resources as well. So I can see a question here from Rolanda. Can the administrator place alerts go to all the subscribers? Yes. So if you have an administrator view, just a moment. Let me just give my administrator rights for the account quick. Everyone, just a moment. So I've given myself some temporary administrator privileges. So to answer your question, Rolanda, if you are viewing the Our Institution section using an administrator account, you go to Actions, you click Create Alert, and you select which alerts you want to be sent, and whoever is a member of this license or this work will receive those funding alerts. I hope that was I hope that was the right answer. I hope that was what you were looking for. I can see Rashida's asked, can I use my two different email addresses to sign into Research Professional? Um, I suppose that depends. If you have I suppose that depends on the institutions that you are affiliated um, with. You should hypothetically be able to set up an account on Research Professional on Africa's license with whichever one of your email addresses, but you can't use two at the same time to log into one account, if that makes sense. So you have to choose what addresses for this for your account to be attached to. Once again, thank you everyone for your kind words. I can see we have another question. So if H3 Africa is to answer your question, Oscar, I can actually well, one thing you can do is you either contact one of your administrators here, or what I'll do is I will send once again just a link to the support case. So you can also request an account via this support portal as well. Uh, but yeah, once again, I'll stay on till the end of the hour, so please feel free to keep any questions coming, and I'll happily answer them.